Therefore, returning home is exactly the same as being in this harmonious state, because there is a limiting belief that says that the universe is dual. That in reality this is not the case, because the whole universe is one. Because the point of equilibrium, the third point of the state of choice, in the state of finding you at home, is the balancing of opposites. Masculine and feminine, the government and the opposition, good and evil. And when you are in the state of this observer, then you are where you should be. You are at a point where opposites can be perceived by you. But when you focus on one reality alone, you cannot perceive another, because you close yourself to the opposite with respect to this choice that you have, with respect to some belief that you have made. Interference is created, because when you have one piece of information, the information contradicts, this information will not be able to overlap with you. There will be an interference effect. It's like a language. If you know one language, then it is difficult for you to learn another language. If you are a small child and do not know any language, then it does not matter which language to learn, you can easily learn. There is no language interference. Yes, and language interference in learning a language creates a complex process of learning a second language, because there is an overlap, because this place is already occupied. And when you return home, to the point of balance and balance, to the point of paradox, this is your home, this is your place of power, and you realize that you don't have to look for something just to be who you are. That is, if you have the desire to express yourself like a woman, yes, 100%, in all directions, yes. If you have a desire for this to happen, it means that you are already this. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have come up with such an idea. If you are already this, then you need to think. And what does not allow you to just be yourself? What are your beliefs? From which attitudes, beliefs you are already sick. And then you start enumerating. I have beliefs about the pancreas. Am I right? Because it's a very strange wording, right? PJ it is called. It's not even in a sound tone, it's not even attuned to female vibrations. It's not a female sound. PG. Was it created by a man or what? I don't understand. Who created this belief? A full-fledged woman. That's what I'm talking about. Because when you hear a full-fledged woman, then an inner voice tells you that it should mirror. So if I should strive to be a full-fledged woman, then I am an incomplete woman. And you, what you hear in your subconscious, you all say, you are an inferior woman. And you're so shocked. What are you? You see, you say that you don't want to listen to it anymore, because it's really absurd. This is even worse than PJ. PJ at least something neutral. It is you see, and neither one nor the other. And when you tell yourself, you try to convince yourself that you are inferior, well, of course, you start to tear yourself away from it, because you are trying to swallow something that is inedible for you. Something that does not resonate so much is the opposite of your vibrations, that it cannot get along in you. Because if you are 100% a woman, then you even go beyond being a full-fledged woman. You are beyond that definition, because you are a feminine vibration, a feminine state, a state of femininity. You know such a thing that all the people on earth, right? They are in the first stages of the conception of the plan, all girls. But, at a certain time, in my opinion, there are 3 or 4, I don't remember how many weeks, a woman's ovaries descend, and women turn into men. In other words, a woman is the beginning of any form of life of a biological person. Therefore, it can be much more difficult not to feel like a man than trying not to feel like a woman. Because the man came from the female form initially. You see, it's very easy for him to feel inferior. But to feel like an inferior woman, you need to make twice as much effort as men to feel like an inferior man. And all this already shows how grandiose you are. And all feminism, it will just crumble in the realization of this fact. Do you understand? Because a man can't compare with a woman. Do you understand? Because he came from a woman. How can he be superior, so to speak, or relatively better, or more worthy of something? If he is a product of the beginning, which can be defined as a woman. Do you understand? Therefore, you will never have a conflict regarding the fact that some man infringes on your rights, because you will look at any man as a child. Because it happens not only further in the matryoshka. Every man comes out of women, and there are men who have emerged from men, because only women can give birth. But fundamentally, when he was first born, he was a woman. And then, in the process of his evolution as a fetus, he decided to become a man. So you had a choice at the very beginning. Who will I be, a woman or a man? I will wish to become a woman. But in the process of my growth, I will take on such beliefs that will create the illusion that I am not a woman. Because when a man makes a choice in the process of his evolution, you will be the fruit that she will explore this reality in the form of a man. Then she does it in order to 100% forget that she is a woman. And explore yourself from a different perspective, from a different point of view, from the polarity. And if the whole universe is a single beginning, then the point of equilibrium is directly in the state of femininity, in the female energy, in the female state. Because a man is a product of a female vibration. Just like men, when they become men, they do not create the illusion that there is no feminine element in it. And testosterone is then in full measure and strength, right? Trying to prove to himself something better than her. So that there is no inferiority complex. Because really, only a man can have an inferiority complex. Because he's an inferior woman, because its underlying structure, from which it originated, is feminine. And accordingly, by investigating this, he can have this very easily, this state. And he will use different methods all the time to touch the female energy closer and closer. The more a man develops testosterone in himself, and, so to speak, a non-destructive attitude towards a woman, the more he has a need for women. In one, in another, in the third, in man, he is still looking everywhere, because the further he tries to move away from it, including this one here. The male is this rude state, yes, the further he departs from his illusions of exploring this reality, therefore, the more he needs to join a woman. But the further the future man is in the state of embodying himself as a man, yes, he does not struggle with this state, does not try to squeeze out of himself the state, the energy of a woman, yes, the female energy of the beginning. The more harmonious he is relative to the position where he is as a man. And knowing that this is his fundamental feminine part, he begins to feel more love, care, begins to cherish the manifestation of women, because he thereby cherishes himself. Because he knows that deep inside his physical structure, he was originally this, a creature. But then, he decided to explore himself from a different point of view, a different perspective. Do you understand? When you look at these things, yes, and you understand who a man is, because you have a definition that this is another being, that you have enmity between you, that he is such a rude mammoth who is trying to bend everything under himself. But
Но когда вы
when you
понимаете,
realize
что в
that
нем
there is a
спрятана
girl
девушка
hidden in it, small,
маленькая,
you
вы
begin to
начинаете
see
его
it
видеть по-другому.
differently. If he
Если он себя
behaves
ведет как
inappropriately,
подавающий, да, вы
yes,
увидите в нем
you will see in
не
him not some
какую-то
kind of
властную
power structure to some kind of
структуру,
tyrant,
да,
but you
какого-то
see in
тирана,
him a
а
little
вы видите в
child
нем
who
маленького
can't
ребенка,
deal with his feelings, with
который не
who
может
he
разобраться
is.
со своими чувствами, с тем, кто он является.
In other
То есть у
words,
вас не будет вот
you will
этого
not have this
столкновения с
clash
тем, что вы
with what you
определяете как
define as
мужское начало.
masculinity, because
Потому
there
что
is no
мужского
male
начала не бывает.
principle. There is
Есть
one
одно начало
feminine
женское.
beginning. The
А мужское
masculine
начало —
principle
это
is a
трансформация женского начала.
transformation of the feminine principle. So the
Тут
question here
есть
is,
вопрос в
which
том, что
came
появилось
first,
раньше
the
курица
chicken
или
or
яйцо.
the egg? The egg
Яйцо
will
будет всегда
always win,
выигрывать,
because
потому что
the
яйцо
egg appeared
появилось
before the
до
chicken
того, как
appeared,
появилась курица.
back
Еще
in
во
the
времена
time of the
динозавров куриц не было.
dinosaurs, when there was no chicken. And you
И
think
вы
that the
являетесь, что
only one who
единственное, у
has
кого
balls
такие есть
here,
яйца, грубо
roughly
говоря,
speaking,
это уже
is a
женщина,
woman, because
потому что
it
и
is this
является этим
egg.
яйцом.
And
А все
everything
остальное,
else,
то, что
what
может
can
проявляться,
manifest
это жалкое
itself, is
подобие
a
того, чем
pathetic
на самом деле
semblance
могут быть
of
яйца.
what eggs can actually be. With
При
such
таких
definitions,
определениях у вас не
you will
будет
not have a
столкновения, то есть вы
collision.
будете
That
уже с
is,
другой
you will
позиции
perceive a man from a
воспринимать
different
мужчину.
position, and then you
Тогда у
won't
вас не
have this
будет вот этого
resistance here.
сопротивления.
You will
Вы
understand what a
поймете,
man
что
needs,
необходимо мужчине.
because all the
Потому что
desires
все
that a man
желания,
can
которые могут
have,
быть у
all
мужчины,
the
все
aspirations
стремления,
that men
которые
can
могут быть у
have,
мужчины,
they
они
grow from the
произрастают из
feminine
женского начала.
principle.
Да?
Yes, because
Потому
it's
что в
based
основе этого
on.
лежит. Соответственно,
Accordingly,
это говорит
this
о том,
suggests
что вы
that you can
мужчина легко можете
understand a
поймать
man
мужчину.
very easily, because
Потому
it's
что это
literally in
буквально
terms of
в
a
плане
woman,
женщины,
right?
да,
This
это
is your
ваш ребенок.
child. And
И
who,
кто,
besides the
кроме матери,
mother,
может
can know
лучше
this
знать
child better?
этого ребенка?
Only a
Только
mother
мать
can know this
может хорошо
child
знать
well,
этого ребенка, понимать
understand this
этого ребенка.
child. Yes,
Да,
give him
дать
what
ему
he
то, что он
wants.
хочет.